like to welcome you, Rush Khan, from Barakah Eats, to our new podcast, The Heart of Food and Beverage, where we want to talk about more really of the heart of the things that make you do what you do in business and how we take care of ourselves in that process through the ups and the downs and all of the challenges. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrea. Looking forward to it.
So Rush, you have a special place in my heart from the coaching that we did with our pitch and plate event, which is where people pitch their products to post-secondary institutions, just for those that are listening and don't know what that is. And it's been an initiative that we've been doing since 2021. And Rush was one of the early folks to present to this group, universities and healthcare. And when we were coaching, it really touched me when you talked about your experience as a child, not being able to participate in functions or things that other kids could participate in, like pizza day, hot dog days, things like that. And why? Because the products that they were consuming were not halal. And so I'm wondering if you could just speak to that and how that relates to how you feel about your business now, and if that's something that drives you forward, just to talk about it a bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. First of all, thank you, Andrea, for having me on. It's a pleasure. What you just talked about right now is basically in a nutshell, why we're doing what we're doing and why we got started. My experiences when I was younger. We realized that no one was kind of catering to kind of like my diet or my family's diet or the community's diet. So when we were formulating products and we were kind of thinking about our business and kind of where would we be going with this business, we were thinking kind of like, on a bigger spectrum of, it's not just us, it's people need these products available to them. Feeling left out is the worst thing. Especially when you're younger. When you're older, you understand. And I think the times have changed. People are more kind of educated and understanding and kind of catering to kind of cultural needs, whatever it may be. But when you're young and you're in your grade 3 and, there's this hot lunch happening and you're not able to participate because they don't have an option for you to have on the menu. For my case, it was, I wasn't able to order anything meat related on a pizza because there was only non-halal options. And then even besides that, certain cheeses are not halal either. So you can't just go with the cheese pizza. You'd have to kind of look into it and see if these ingredients are suitable for your dietary needs. So it makes things complicated. You feel left out. You kind of look like the weird kid in the class, and then you kind of have to explain, why you can't have this.
And they don't understand it.
They don't understand. They're too young. You kind of understand, but you're also kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do I explain this? And when you're young, you just want to kind of fit in. So this is kind of like one of the things that we had in my mind, or the whole family's mind, that like as we kind of progress with our business, this is one of the goals that we have. I have 3 kids now, so this is kind of one thing that I had in my mind, that okay, maybe there weren't suppliers to kind of supply these products that are suitable for these places. But that's one thing that our business kind of takes seriously, that I don't want my kids to kind of go through what I went through or others went through.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about where this started, because you started as a restaurant, did you not?
That's right. So we started in 2005 as a family-run restaurant. So kind of Pakistani, Indian cuisine. We had some Mediterranean dishes, but our whole menu was halal. So that was one thing that was a business decision from my parents, that anything that they did would be kind of like only a halal restaurant, only halal products. Before this, my dad was involved in the fish and chips industry. He ran a fish and chips restaurant in downtown. Downtown Vancouver, on Burrard and Thurlow.
What was it called?
Captain's Fish and Chips.
Oh,
yeah. So this is a while ago, and when him and his partner took over the existing business, it was a fish and chips before that as well. A business was good. When they took over, business was good. It was, it has its ups and downs. But one thing that was kind of a problem was he didn't add any alcohol to his restaurant, right? That was
to the menu.
To the menu, yeah. So that was one of our things. As practicing Muslims, we don't consume any alcohol, so we don't want to sell alcohol either at our business, right? So they ran that business, I think, about 3 years without alcohol. And it came to a point where like repeat customers were like, hey, what's going on? You need to add this to the thing, right? Because fish and chips and beer, alcohol, it goes hand in hand. It's part of the culture, right?
Right.
And then I guess that's kind of something that maybe they didn't think about kind of going into the business. But yeah, it's part of it. So they'd be like, oh, and it's hard to kind of explain these things to an outsider as well. Be like, oh, we're working on it, working on our liquor license and this and that, but they weren't. And then time grew by and then people realized, okay, they're not, going to be bringing this in their menu. And then business really dropped after that. So they ended up selling the business. And then a couple of years later when, my dad was thinking about food again, one of his, main goals was going to be something that, okay, let's open something that won't restrict me. And, this is something that, okay, it was more of a cultural kind of restaurant. We're kind of in a community where there's a lot of similar members in the area. And it's kind of more takeout, fast food. So not having alcohol wouldn't affect the business.
Right.
And then from there, I was involved in this business as a kid. I was 15 years old kind of when he started it. So I was helping out on the weekends after school, on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that kind of thing. And doing everything, bussing tables, washing dishes, working the till, learning prep work in the kitchen. So I really gained like an interest in food and hospitality. But it wasn't one of those things that kind of like I imagined me doing for the rest of my life, and nor did my parents. This is kind of more of like a business kind of, to put food on the table. It was an economic decision. It wasn't for them. I don't think it was like a long-term thing that, this is going to be a family business for the rest of our lives.
Was everybody else involved in the business?
My mom, my dad, and my sisters would also help out. They were a lot younger then, so they would same way kind of help out.
Where are you in the mix?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
Yeah.
It's 5, right?
It's 5 of us,
It's
yeah.
the same as my family.
Oh.
1 boy and 4 girls?
Exactly.
Poor
You. Yeah, exactly.
You.
4 of the 5 siblings have participated in the business in some way or the other. And the sister after me, she never got involved.
Right.
And I don't think it's her fault either. I think my parents never kind of pushed her in. So she was kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of us were part of the restaurant at some point.
That's It's a funny parallel because I also grew up in a family that had a business.
Right.
Not a food business. We had a newspaper, actually. We had a weekly newspaper. And it was like, what job would you like to do? Because you're going to be working at this paper, whether you like it or not.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's totally relatable.
Wow. Yeah. And so then so it wasn't really sort of something that you loved, but there was a business aspect, right, that was interesting to you?
Yeah, it was. So basically, I was working at the restaurant throughout high school and then into university. And this was kind of like, what I was doing. It was my job basically, right? My part-time job, as you go through school. And it came to a time like we started increasing locations and so I was getting more involved in the business, kind of making, had an opportunity to make more business decisions and things like that and kind of think more strategically. And I went off to business school after that. I did my MBA at SFU, and with South Asian families, it's your parents want you to go to school, but they also want you to kind of like, if you're part of a business, you need to kind of like, kind of take it to the next level. They didn't kind of send me to business school to, just be working at my dad's restaurant. So this is one thing that like we kind of, my mom actually came up with the idea, and she was like, you know what, why don't we look into food packaging? Or why don't we create a product? So it was actually her, the first one that kind of like brought up the concept. And then through school, I kind of like, started kind of understanding more the concept and, kind of what this would take, more of the numbers side and then product development, things like that. And when we started experimenting, and then it kind of led to kind of Barakah Eats.
So you were really the catalyst for the products becoming a wholesale product and going into retail and
Yeah. Everyone was part of the vision, but it was kind of me that So I've talked about the story in the past as well. We at one of our locations we had a larger kitchen, so we had some extra space, and we had this idea for a while, and we didn't know how to get started. So we actually bought food packaging equipment, almost over 10 years ago now, and that piece of equipment never got touched. We didn't know kind of what to do with it, and it just sat there. And then I think in 2018. My sister had got married here in Vancouver, and then she moved to Toronto. She's back now, but during that time, my parents went to go visit her, and they wanted to see how she was doing, and then just to pay her a short visit. So I kind of going back to the family business idea. It's when you're in a family business, sometimes you start off your day thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing, and then this is kind of what's going to be. And then, the head of the business, which could be your father or mother, they might have some other plans for you, right? So that's kind of how my days were going at that time. But that weekend or so was very pivotal because they were away. So I had some freedom. So I had some freedom. And then after hours, after we had done whatever we were doing at our commercial kitchen, because we had purchased a commercial kitchen that was basically going to be kind of creating this product, and we're going to do everything there, not at the restaurant. But it was kind of being more used as more of a commissary to support our products that were going into our restaurants. And we had a catering truck and that kind of thing. So no product development, none of that. It was more kind of, just to support the restaurants. So, so at that point, at that weekend, I had an opportunity to kind of just play around after hours. So I found that machine. Cleaned it up, it was all rusty. Yeah, figured out how to use it, watched some YouTube videos. And then we had bought some pouches as well, just stock pouches. And then, so I played around with some of our curries, packaged it. And I had a printer that would print barcode labels. So created a generic barcode, threw a logo on there. And then I sent a WhatsApp picture to my dad, who was in Toronto, and I was like, hey, I'm onto something now. And then he calls me and he's like, oh, what did you do? I was like, okay, when you come back, let's work on this project. Wow. So that's kind of how it got started.
So are you now in charge of the whole company? Is it does the buck kind of stop with you now, or?
Yeah, certain things with me, certain things with my dad. I think we've understood kind of where our areas are. Yeah, okay. And I think that's one of the biggest things with a family business,
I know.
That there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that, everyone kind of focuses on kind of, what they're best at.
Right.
And, that could change over time. But it's important that you don't kind of overstep to someone else's job.
Right.
So we've been able to kind of foster that relationship that, okay, your dad at home, but, at the business, we're kind of more partners.
Right.
So we've kind of taken that approach. But, you obviously have that respect of, your elder and their wisdom.
Right. And so for you, being in this, that's a lot of responsibility that you have. And now you've also got a wife and young kids. So that must be challenging to manage. They're all really young, aren't they? How old are your kids?
Challenging is an understatement. My oldest daughter, she just turned 5 in September. My son is 3, and then I have another son that's 1.
Oh,
and
my
a
goodness.
bit. Yeah, so they're
5, 3, and 1.
5, 3, and 1. Yeah, so it's
wow.
It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of chaos.
A lot of work.
My daughter just started kindergarten. My son just started preschool.
Yeah.
So they're busy. And then, I'm away during the day, but once I come home, my wife also needs a break.
They're all over you.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes, you just want to come in. You're like, hey, guys, give me 5 minutes. I just want to take a shower, get out of my work clothes and then, chill. But they don't understand that part.
They have other plans.
They've been waiting for dad all day.
Yeah.
And then for me too, it's you're so, invested in kind of building up the business and growing it. And kind of the whole plan is you want to kind of grow something, for the family. And then, but at the same time, you don't want to neglect your family as well. And these are very crucial years where they don't understand. My daughter now, she's getting a little bit older, so she kind of gets it. We with business and family life, there's overlap as well. I'll walk into a grocery store and I want to see, you know, our product and see if, you know, it's lined up, see if anything's missing. And, you know, my daughter's catching on. She's like, why do you always want to go to these grocery stores and, like, you know, see our product? You know, can't someone else do it? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no. I'm like, everyone's got their role, but, you know, I got to make sure that, and I tell her, I'm like, you know, isn't this cool? You know, your product is on the shelf, right? Yeah. So she's starting to understand that. She's like, it's cool.
She'll
yeah.
Get there.
Yeah.
Give her a couple more years.
Yeah.
We were talking about that in another podcast, that the kids hit a certain age and they get very proud of what they see, right? They get proud of their parents, they get proud of the work, and they can see the results, and it's quite fun.
No, definitely. Even last week she was telling me she went somewhere and she saw the product at her friend's house or something like that. Yeah. She's like, Dad, they had Barakah Eats. And I was like, oh, that's cool. She's sweet? Like, what flavor was it? She's like, I don't know. I just saw the packaging. Yeah, it was cool to like see that, you know, they're starting to understand.
Yeah, that's great. And so it is something that you see as a company that you're building for future generations. So for your kids.
Yeah, for me, that's I don't know if that's how my dad envisioned it.
Yeah.
But I think if you ask him now, he's probably like, he'll say the same thing, that, you know, like, this was kind of a base and I wanted to see kind of the business go to the next level. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I you know, I feel passionate about as well. I don't know when kind of they'll be ready or if they'll even have interest. That's the other thing too, because I took an interest in it.
Yeah.
With these family businesses, I've talked to other people as well, and it's like, you know, kids don't take interest, or right. Like it's not even like the kids' fault as well, because it's maybe, you know, they're not given the freedom, and then, you know, kind of there's that old school, new school mentality where, you know, your parents, they know everything. They don't want to hear your ideas, right? So I think that's one area where I think my dad and my mom gave me flexibility, and then they really listened to my ideas.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe going to business school kind of gave me that credibility as well.
Right.
They're like, okay, you know, maybe he knows a little bit of something. But yeah, so that's one thing I do think about, that, you know, this is something that I envision them kind of taking over, mm-hmm. but they also have to want it. Right. It can't be shoved down kind of their throat. They need to kind of have a taste of it. And mm-hmm. I think that's kind of one thing that I saw as well growing up, that I saw my dad working, you know, these long hours, and then my parents so invested in something mm-hmm. that it wasn't just a 9 to 5. So they found passion in it. And, you know, I saw that, and that kind of like helped me kind of gain more interest in it.
And there's no guarantee, right, that the kids,
no.
I mean, you know, in my case, in my family, mm-hmm. 2 of my siblings actually ended up going into media, mm-hmm. right, out of 5. So, you know, chances are you've got 3 right now.
Yeah, so, yeah. So we joke around.
You have at least one that's gonna.
Yeah, we joke around. My sister joke around with that at home too. We're like, you know, when one of them do something special, like, oh, he's the one or she's the one. But yeah, it's so hard to tell right now. But it's like, I think my job is kind of just give them a taste of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, show them that, okay, you know, we're doing something meaningful, and, you know, you have a chance to kind of take it even to the next level, you know, mm-hmm. whenever that time comes.
Mm-hmm. And what about for you personally? Just like, what do you, Rush, do for yourself to kind of you know, recharge and even relax? Like, what is there anything that you're able to do? Because I'm guessing that you probably don't get a lot of sleep. I'm guessing that's probably not in the cards these days with the young kids.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think this phase of my life, I'm so involved with there's growing the business, and then there's a growing the family aspect.
Yeah.
So it's right now my hobbies are kind of, you know, whatever their hobbies are.
Right.
Because now as they're growing up, they're getting involved in activities as well. My daughter is in Taekwondo. She plays soccer. And we're getting my son ready as well. He just started swimming. So now it's like any downtime kind of is going into their time. So I'm trying to make it, you know, balance things out in a way that, like, okay, maybe we can enjoy things together. Maybe watch. This is something I did with my dad, that, you know, we created a bond early on because we watched a lot of sports together. So we watched sports together. We played sports. So that, I think that really helped us in our business relationship as well, because, you know, we talk about business a lot, but we also have, you know, an interest in other things that we can kind of talk about. So
and
that's,
he had to meet you in that place too. Like, he was an entrepreneur as well, right?
Yeah.
So he was working probably the same amount you're working. Mm-hmm. So
if not more.
Yeah. So it's a good example for you, I guess, then, with the bonding with your own kids, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And so that's kind of like, that's one strategy that I've seen that's worked as well, that he would take me everywhere. You know, even though I had no role being there, but it's like, I'm sitting at home, free. He's like, okay, come with me. Let's go here. Let's run this errand. Even some of the business meetings that he was involved in, he would just bring me along. And then obviously I was too young to kind of understand anything or like, give any input. So I'd just be sitting there quietly, but I remember those moments.
Right.
And like, I really look up to him and see kind of how he handled those moments. And there's ups and downs in business, right?
Of course.
There's pressure coming from all four corners. So that's one thing I think business school won't teach you, or anything. Like, it's kind of like it's real life experience, or some sort of coaching. And when you're in that stage, you kind of have to figure that out. So that, I think that one skill that he really kind of drilled into me. Like, it's not like he told me this, but it's kind of like, you got to figure things out, and you got to figure it out however you figure it out, but it's one thing you got to do.
So your sorry, how many of the siblings are involved in the business then?
4 of them are involved, but they have their own day jobs. They all work in the public sector.
So they're touching into it.
Yeah, they're touching into it, and they help out with events, trade
Okay.
shows, markets, things like that. Any marketing that we do.
So are you the only one that's full
Full-time.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm the
all right.
only one that's full-time.
I've got a question. Who's developing these fantastic recipes?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. My mom
I was
and my
gonna say,
dad
is it your
are
mom?
they're basically behind it. We obviously have chefs and like prep staff that work with us now,
Right.
that bring in their own input. But the heart of the business is them. They started these concepts from our restaurant. So
Okay.
when we dived in from the restaurant into food production, it's like a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
But because they had not just been managing a restaurant, but they were working in it, and they were doing their own product development. Years ago, they had, they understood the business, right? So they were able to kind of, because that's the core of the business, right? Like, if the food doesn't taste good, then it doesn't matter how well we market it, how well we do anything, right? Like, we'll only have a one-time customer.
Right.
And I think that's kind of been the success of our business, is we have repeat customers. And it goes back to, these homemade recipes that we're trying to scale and, bring to like, the rest of the industry.
Right. I want to just pivot a little bit, and I want you to tell me a little bit about what's happening with Barakah Eats. So just from a growth standpoint, I think it's been really exciting, I think, in the last year for you guys. But can you maybe just give us a little insight into what's coming? Have you got some exciting things that are on the horizon, or?
Yeah, a lot of interesting things happening right now. Last year, it's already been a year. We expanded our facility, so we were lucky that our neighbor was leaving. so there was an
nice.
empty space, kind of, right? But yeah, good timing, because it kind of coincided with the growth of our business, where we needed more space to grow.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of like build out the second part of our facility, and now our goal, we're basically kind of pushing towards becoming a national company. We're working on our federal certification with CFIA. Most of our products are meat products, or the products that our retailers and some of our partners want in like the East Coast. And it gets challenging on a regulatory. There's regulatory issues with meat. You can't be crossing provinces with meat products until you're federally certified.
Yeah.
But because we've extended our facility, we've been able to kind of work on this project, and we're getting closer and closer now. So that's kind of on the horizon. Like, we see ourselves across Canada, and we have some opportunities with some retailers that are interested in taking us there, and we're getting reach. The last year or so has been huge on our food service side. So besides grocery, that's one thing that's been huge for us. We've been able to create new products that we hope to kind of push into our retail line as well soon. And
New products just in general, or new products that we're going through food service?
We've done some products in food service. So we're pushing those we're working on developing them for retail. So we'll see more retail products coming soon, hopefully.
Wow.
In 2025.
That's exciting.
And then, besides the food service side, there's some other things that we're working on as well. Some newer things. I think innovation is a big thing. People want to see new things. The buyers want to see new things. Our customers, they get bored of buying the same product. They want to see something new.
Yeah.
So, but when we launch something, we want to make sure, the pack size is right. Quality is there. The ingredients that we use, we're able to source, things like that. And then equipment, right? So behind the scenes, that's kind of one thing we've been able to kind of work on, more of the automation to kind of help us scale. And, we just started working with institutions. So that's something that the pitch and play was very pivotal for us, kind of like opening that door and kind of bringing us into working with post-secondary institutions and healthcare.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge thing. And that's kind of like, I think, one thing that really is kind of pushing our business in a unique direction.
Yeah.
We're working with 2 hospitals right now, Surrey Memorial and Langley.
Yeah.
They have Halal options now. And this is something that's pretty cool because it's not something that we would have imagined a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And these hospitals haven't been able to kind of provide that either. So it's cool that the timing has worked out, that they're really kind of looking to kind of bring new things on.
Yeah.
And we're also there at the right time to kind of provide this. I got a phone call from BC Children's Hospital the other day. They know about this program as well, so they're trying to get us inside their building as well. So those are some of the cool things that are really happening right now. And on days where we're struggling or not so great days, these are kind of the things that kind of give us that little push to keep us going.
Well, that's exciting, Rashid. I'm really, really happy for you, and I'm so pleased that the business continues to grow and continues to flourish. And I know it's not easy. You are making a very, very tough product. Anytime you're putting something out there that's, meat and so many regulations and so many things around it, it's just a testament to your abilities in business that you're able to overcome these things. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you so much for sharing about your family and your own personal experience with the business. And thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Appreciate being on.
Thanks.